So with this lesson, we're going to continue with a different design, still trying to be original and break away from previous designs, but also being accurate to the prompts. Using a couple ideas from the evil cat drawing I did before, I particularly like the hairless or the short-haired element of the image, but I also still want to follow the clothing aspect as well. Except now we'll take it in a different direction. I want to create a character of a witch's black cat, but with a twist. So I've chosen this long-faced breed of cat to use as a reference because I like the elegancy of the anatomy and the slightly villainous face. I'm going to work with these features to create a female character this time around. So to start with, I'm working on a new layer. Like before, I've called it Sketch. And this time around, I'm going to be focusing on the silhouette initially because I want a very strong part of the design to be focused on the crispness of the shapes and the long, sleek lines of the design. So to begin with, I want to get a nice thick brush. I've got this default hard brush here, and roughly about 32 pixels, just large enough so you can work with it, but it's just not too unmanageable. And to start off with, you just want to begin blocking out a quick shape of the character. When it comes to silhouetting, you just want to get the ink down. You don't want to worry too much about lines just yet. It's just to get the shape. This method is a good idea if you're just starting from a very fresh idea and you're not really sure where to take the design just yet, so you just begin jumping between the eraser and the pen or the brush. You just block out how you want things to look. And the design will look very juvenile to begin with. Once you start putting in a little bit more time, you start refining, you'll start to see an actual design come through that you like. But for now, it's just getting a very quick shape down. So as you can see, I'm focusing mostly on very slim, slender design. Once again, it's still pretty human, completely unfeline at the moment, but we're going to work on that. The hands, I'm going to just show where they're going to be, and we'll work on that more in a minute. The ears, they're pretty big on this breed of cat as well, so following through with that. With the face, I want to bring it down like this. Don't worry too much about the facial features just yet. We have to focus on the body first. And I'm going to begin thinking about how the clothes are going to look as well. So high shoulders, perhaps a cape, but semi-transparent. So we're just going to give it an outline for now. When it comes to semi-transparent or semi-see-through elements of a character, it's good just to lightly shade it in. Obviously don't block it because it won't be a solid color in the final design. Okay, there. So now that we have a nice shape to the silhouette, I'm going to drop the opacity to about 10. So it's just visible, and then I'm going to make a new layer. And like before, I'm naming this one Sketch 2. So now that we have an idea of the shape, we can begin working on the lines, and I'm going to make this a little larger. There we go. And once again, a nice thin brush like before. for working on crisp lines. So I'm going to make the reference images smaller as well so I can fit them on the screen. And I'm going to begin working on the face first. So it's still going to have a slightly fantastical element to it, but I still want to be able to the design to be recognizable as this kind of breed of cat. So I'm going to try and stick to the design, stick to the references a little bit, but not too strictly, I suppose. I'm going to exaggerate certain features. So I imagine this character as being kind of serious. Not so much of a cartoony element as before, although still stylized. And some nice feminine feline eyes this time around, but still a little dark and scary because it is a villain after all. Cats don't have eyebrows, so we're just going to work with the patterns of the fur. There we go. So there's the face. And if you remember in the previous lesson, we used the Liquify tool just to change little aspects. And we're going to do that later on as well with this design, so don't worry too much about having everything exactly perfect just yet. So a human-like neck rather. And I'm going to begin working on the clothing. And I want it to be a fantastical element, witch-like but still dark, graceful, clean lines. I picture this character kind of similar to Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty, that kind of design to the clothing. So villainous but still rather magical, I suppose. But we're going to try and put our own flair on it. Maybe some silk coming down from the head. And perhaps this could turn into the cape. So if this line continued, it would meet with that one we drew earlier. Something like this. This is still a sketch, so don't worry too much about the clothing. Just get something that you like down. And I'm just going to forwards quickly through this process. Okay, so here we go. There's our finished line work for this sketch. I've kept it pretty light compared to the previous design because I really wanted to focus on shape for this drawing. I've also noticed that I've been inking on the reference layer over here. If I make this invisible, you can see. Things like this are fine so long as the new work and the old work don't overlap. As you can see, in this case, they don't. The pictures are over here and the lines over here. So what we can do is use the lasso tool and just select the work that we've done on this layer that should have been on a different layer. Edit, copy, and if you just press delete, deselect the area, go back to the layer that it's meant to be on, and paste. And then just move it into place. So there we go. So now we have this layer and this layer separate. Okay, so like before, we're going to make the first sketch layer invisible, filter, liquify, zoom in on the line work, And just using this warp tool, perhaps zoom in a little more, we can just begin moving things ever so slightly to the way that we want it. Okay, so once we're happy with that, press OK. And by going to the undo button, you can just see the changes I've made. And I prefer it this way, so that's good. And if you want to be absolutely sure, flip horizontal again and look for changes that way. Okay, so there we go. There's our finished design. And I'm going to make it smaller. Alright, so here's a collection of the designs I've created using the prompt Villainous Feline. They differ quite drastically from each other, but I've been able to choose elements that I like to keep consistent through the drawings, such as the clothing aspects, because I feel it works best for this character. Being able to have varied designs like this is key to understanding the character and being able to choose the best possible option for your work. In the next lesson, we'll be concentrating on speed painting and colour blocking a chosen design and how colour is important to making the most of a character concept.